Hey guys, my name is Ayotunde Shufela and I'm going to be your guide to understanding everything under the hood. In today's class, we're going to be talking about the cooling system. A lot of people don't understand how the cooling system of a car works, so they just do it as they like. We're going to be understanding every single component of the cooling system, what it does, and how to take care of your cooling system properly. So, let's go. So the cooling system on a car is simply that system that deals with helping to maintain or regulate the temperatures in the engine. This is different from your AC system. Your air conditioning system is different from your cooling system. The cooling system, like I said, is that system that deals with regulating the temperatures in the engine and helping to maintain a proper balance between not too hot and not too cold. So now, for a cooling system to work properly, you need certain components to be in place. No matter the kind of car you drive, you will need certain components to be in place. Number one, the radiator. So the radiator is like a storage unit for your coolant or your water, depending on what you are using in the car. Now the radiator helps to store the fluid, like I said, whether coolant or water, and it also helps to dissipate the heat coming from the hot coolant that's coming from the engine out to the atmosphere. So it's a heat exchanger, and at the same time it's a storage unit for your coolant or your water, depending on what you are using. And the image you are seeing is what a radiator looks like, whether big, whether small, but it carries this shape. The radiator you just saw can have a couple of issues like leakage. In fact, that's the number one issue that a radiator usually has. It could be leaking from the fins, or it could be leaking from the storage tanks, but leakage is one of the major issues that it has. And once it starts leaking, ladies and gentlemen, I would advise you to change it. Even though there are some people who specialize in fixing radiators, but then it doesn't always last. So if you have a leak from your radiator, your best bet is to replace it. Number two component, the radiator cap. So if you have a radiator, you will definitely have a radiator cap. Now, the tricky thing with the radiator cap is sometimes it is not mounted on the radiator. Like this vehicle I'm sitting with right now, the radiator cap is mounted directly on top of the radiator. In some cases, you will find a radiator, but you will not find a radiator cap on top of the radiator. Then you need to go look for some white plastic, like what you are seeing on the screen right now. It is called an expansion tank, and in most cases the radiator cap will be mounted on that one. So if you don't find the radiator cap on the radiator itself like this, then you will find it on the expansion tank. Either which way, your car must carry a radiator cap. It's just the shape, the size, and the location that is different. Now the radiator cap, as small as it is doing a mighty job on the car, because it is also helping to maintain certain pressures in the radiator. So if you have a bad radiator cap, your car is going to give you cooling system issues. Next time you have any funny kind of issues around your cooling system, make sure you visit your mechanic and have them check this for you. Number three, cooling fans. Your cooling fans is going to come looking like this or like this. Any which one you find on the car is doing the same job, helping to blow the heat away from the engine. What you saw earlier on is either an electric fan like this or a mechanical fan like this. Electric fans use electricity, meaning that they are going to be connected to the electric part of your vehicle, and they are going to be drawing electric charge from there for them to do their job. Meaning if a wire cuts, the fan will not work. If the fan blows, the fan will not work. If the fan motor spoils, the fan will not work. It is just like your fan at home. It uses an electric motor to do the turning, which in turn will help to cool down your engine. That's for the electric fans. Now for mechanical fans, we like to call them viscous fans because they carry a viscous fluid inside them, and that fluid has a very strange property to it. When the engine is cold, or when the temperatures around the engine are at a very low temperature, the fluid stays as fluid, like it's in its fluid state. So the fan is not going to really turn that fast. But then when the temperatures start increasing, the fluid is going to solidify, and it's going to make the fan start turning at the same speed as the engine. which is why what you are seeing on the screen is the fan being bolted to the body of the engine. So at fluid states, the fan just turns freely. At very, very high temperatures, the fan starts to turn at the speed of the engine, and that is how it does its job. So your car might carry an electric fan or you might carry a mechanical fan. Either which way, if the fans go bad, it's going to cause your engine or your cooling system to start misbehaving. Component number 4, the water pump. The water pump is a pump that is attached to your engine and driven by the belt. So it is your belt, that belt that we call alternator belt or drive belt, that is what turns the water pump. And in some cases, it's being driven by the timing chain or timing belt. And it is what turns or makes the water pump around the engine. So without a water pump, your water or your coolant is just going to be in the radiator or in the engine, and it's not going to be moving up and down. So think of your water pump like pumping machine in your house that pumps the water from down all the way to your water tank. And exactly what happens in the car. So the water pump does the pumping of the coolant around the engine. If for any reason the water pump fails, you're going to suffer from cooling system issues on the car, because that water or that coolant is no longer going to be able to circulate around the engine and do its job. Component number 5 is the blood of the cooling system, and it is called coolant. You see, I did not mention water. In my previous explanations, I'll be saying water or coolant, but now I'm going to component number 5, and it's coolant, not water. The coolant is a fluid that is poured into the cooling system to help remove the excess heat and regulate the temperatures in the cooling system. Now, it is different from water. Water, your regular H2O, we all know that it will boil at 100 degrees Celsius. It will freeze at 0 degrees Celsius. But you see, with coolant, it is different, because coolant has additives in it that help to lower the freezing point and also help to increase the boiling point. So it goes way higher than 100 degrees Celsius before it starts to boil, and it will go very, very low, lower than 0 before it begins to freeze. Now, coolant comes in different colors and different sizes, and there is what we call concentrated coolant and premixed coolant. Concentrated coolant means that you should not pour that coolant into your radiator like that, because it is concentrated. You have to mix it, and usually it is 50% distilled water and 50% coolant. But then there is the premixed one that has already been mixed from the factory and is safe for pouring into your radiator just like that. A lot of people prefer to buy the pre-mixed one because it is easier to handle. You just take it and you pour it into your radiator and you are good to go. So I have 2 different colors of coolant in front of me. This is red, this is green. Now it comes in other colors. There's I think there's orange, then there's the almost clear one. It depends on what your vehicle is using. Now please take a look at this. You can see this is red or pink depending on what color you want to call it, and this one is green. So you see 2 different colors. Please, when you are dealing with coolant on a car, do not mix 2 colors together. People that like to do science students kind of things, do not mix 2 colors of coolant together, because you can actually have a very harsh chemical reaction happen in your cooling system, and you do not want that to happen. The thing with coolant is it is designed to last up to 2 years in your cooling system. It's not something that you're supposed to have to top every single day. But then it will keep going down and you will have to top it if there is a leak. This is why manufacturers recommend coolant and not water, because water is going to evaporate after a while. Once it starts getting hot or too hot, it's going to evaporate and you're going to have to top it up every now and then. But then with coolant, you should not have to do any topping up or any addition except there is a leakage. So if you are the kind of person that opens up their hood and you see your coolant level has dropped and it keeps dropping and you have to be topping up every single morning, then it means you are dealing with a leak somewhere. And your best bet is to have a cooling system pressure test done on your car to find out where the leak is. The cooling system pressure test I will talk about in a moment. But for now, just understand that the coolant in your cooling system is not supposed to go down, and it can last up to 2 years. Now, it can go longer than that period, but it is advised that after 2 years, you flush it out and put in a new one, just to make sure that the additives and everything in it are still working properly. Component number 6. This is the most abused component in the cooling system. Like, you people have literally beat, abused, insulted, done everything to this component. And I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why. So, give a round of applause to the thermostat. The thermostat is a member of the cooling system on your car. And Nigerian mechanics. I don't know about other countries, but you see, Nigerian mechanics, they have so abused this component to the extent that once your car is coming into the country from the ports, they are already advising you to remove your thermostat. Why? I can't seem to understand. I have tried to give an understanding or give a meaning or give a reason to why they do what they do, but it just doesn't click. So now I'm going to explain to you what the thermostat does on a car and why you should stop abusing the thermostat. The thermostat is a regulating device. Now, let me take you away from cars to your house. Your iron, the iron you use to iron your clothes, carries a thermostat in it. And that's why every time it starts to get too hot, you will hear this click sound and you will see that the light on the iron goes off. After a while, the light comes on with a click again. That click, click, click you are hearing is the work of a thermostat. Away from the iron, your electric kettle has a thermostat in it, and that's why once it starts boiling, you hear a click sound and the kettle goes off, because there is a thermostat in it that is helping to regulate how it works. Now, back to cars. The thermostat is always found in the cooling system, and it does the same job the other two do. It helps to regulate temperatures. So I'm going to show you how it works. Now, your thermostat is always found at the outlet side of the cooling system, meaning the side where coolant is leaving the engine. When you start your car in the morning, the temperatures or the temperature of the engine is very low, and if the temperature of the engine stays that low, you're going to have excessive fuel consumption. Why? Because if I want to burn a wet wood and I want to burn a dry wood, I'm going to apply more fuel to the wet wood before it burns than what I will apply to the dry wood. So that happens in the car as well. The colder your engine, the more fuel you are going to need for it to work optimally. So to avoid that, manufacturers place a thermostat at the outlet of the cooling system to prevent the coolant from leaving the engine while the engine is cold. So it traps the coolant in the engine, and the engine has a faster time to warm up than coolant coming in, coolant going out, coolant coming in, coolant going out. That will not allow the engine to warm up in time. So the thermostat is going to be there, and it's going to stay closed till the engine is warm. And your engine is going to warm up in like 10-15 minutes. 15 minutes is even too much. Within 10 minutes, your engine should have reached the optimal working temperature. So within 0 to 10 minutes, you should have your temperatures in the engine go from like 30 degrees Celsius all the way to about 90, 95, sometimes a little bit higher than that, but not all the way to 100, and sometimes a little bit lower than that. So the optimal working temperature of every engine varies, and it starts from about like 75 degrees Celsius all the way to about 97, 98, but it never gets to 100 degrees Celsius. Now, when you have a thermostat in the car, it's going to stay closed till the temperatures get to what we call optimal working temperature. As soon as it gets to the optimal working temperature, it will open, and it will allow the coolant that was initially trapped in the engine to flow out. And throughout your driving experience, the thermostat will stay open. It's not going to close again. It's going to remain open until you turn the engine off and it starts cooling down again. Once it starts cooling down, the thermostat will close back. Once you start up again, the whole cycle starts all over again. So now, that device has just one job, which is what I just explained to you. If it goes bad, it's going to go bad in such a way that it will stay closed or stay open. When it stays closed, it's a problem. And it means that even when the engine has reached its optimal working temperature, the thermostat will not open and the coolant stays trapped in the engine. This will lead to overheating. But the but there is, it will lead to overheating in less than 10-15 minutes. Meaning if you are driving your car from startup, within 10-15 minutes of you starting up your car and driving, if you have a bad thermostat, your car will overheat. It's not a case of, I drove my car from Lekki all the way to Bagada. It's when I reached Bagada, my car just started overheating. That is definitely not a thermostat issue. Your thermostat, if it is bad, meaning if it's stuck closed, will give you an issue within 10 to 15 minutes of startup. So you start your car, before you even drive for 15 minutes, it's overheating, you most likely have a thermostat issue. Not, is when I enter traffic, my car used to overheat. Is when I on my AC, my car, So please, understand what a thermostat does. It does just that one job on the car, helping to regulate the temperatures in the cooling system and make sure that everything is working optimally. Now, if it goes bad on the stock open side, it's only going to make sure that the car doesn't warm up in time. That's the only downside to it staying stock open. The car will not warm up in time. And I've been saying warm up. Now, let me take you inside the car. Take a look at this gauge. Most people have this gauge on their car where you have the cold and the hot side. Now, your temperatures should leave cold once you start up and go all the way to the middle. Once it reaches the middle, it should stay at the middle, meaning that the car has gotten to the optimum working temperatures. If it is on the cold side, the car is not fully warmed up. If it is on the hot side, it is too hot. So it's supposed to stay in the middle and maintain a balance. Meaning if you are driving with this gauge on the cold side, you're going to have a little bit of excessive fuel consumption because your engine is still cold. And back to the scenario I painted, it's going to be like the wet wood. You're going to be using excess fuel to make it burn properly. If it's on the hot side, you're going to be having issues with your engine, which everybody knows as overheating. So if you're just buying a car, somebody's telling you remove thermostat, please do not even answer them. If the car is overheating or if it has any issues with the cooling system, make sure you figure out what exactly is wrong with it. Component number 7, the coolant temperature sensor. This is the sensor that is saddled with the responsibility of monitoring the temperature of the cooling system. Every car has a coolant temperature sensor. Every car has it. You see that your gauge on the temperature going high, low, up, down. It is the coolant temperature sensor that is informing the computer on the car, which is what we call the brain box, that the temperature in the cooling system is now at 30 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Celsius, 200 degrees Celsius if possible. It is the job of the coolant temperature sensor. So if you are the kind of person that when you get into your car, you started, you've driven from Bega to Aja, and your temperature gauge did not move from the cold area at all, it's possible you have a coolant temperature sensor issue on the car where the sensor is not reading properly. There are times when this sensor goes bad, your car will also give you hard starting because at that point in time, the computer doesn't know the temperature the engine is at and it is struggling to help the engine to start. So the coolant temperature sensor is component number 7. And for you to know if you have a bad coolant temperature sensor, you need to have a scan run on the car and then it will pull up a fault code for you relating to the sensor. Some cars carry 1, some cars carry 2, depending on how it is designed. But just know that the coolant temperature sensor's job is to monitor the temperature of the cooling system. Component number 8, which is going to be my last component for today, is hoses. So these are self-explanatory. On your cooling system, you need hoses and water channels for the water to be able to pass from one component to another. So you would have a hose running from your radiator to your engine, another one running back from the engine to the radiator, and you have water channels in the engine that allow the water or the coolant to flow properly. If any of these hoses gets busted, you're playing with water being lost from the engine and the radiator, and you're going to suffer from overheating. So guys, those are the components you would find on an everyday car that has a functioning cooling system. Now, I have mentioned the word or the term overheating a lot, and I am going to take my time to explain what overheating is, but I'm not going to do it in this video. So if you want to know what overheating is and why your car overheats, then you have to stay tuned to this channel, as I will be dropping another video explaining that. All right, thank you for staying in class today. Bye guys.